we defined this function called emoji converter. This function takes a parameter called message and finally returns the output. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you guys how to handle errors in your Python programs. So let's start by writing a small program to get the user's age from the terminal. So we call the input function input, add a label here like age. This returns a string, so we need to pass it to the int function and then store the result in a variable called age. Now let's print age to make sure we have implemented everything properly. Run our program. We type 20. 20 is printed here. Beautiful. Now look at the exit code of this program. Exit code 0 means our program terminated successfully. There were no errors. But what if we run this program one more time, and instead of entering a numerical value, we enter something like ASD. We get a value error with this message, invalid literal for int with base 10. Basically, what this message is telling us is that this string ASD does not contain a valid whole number that can be converted to an integer. Now look at the exit code of this program. Exit code 1 means our program crashed. So 0 always means success, and anything but 0 means crash. Now, as a good Python programmer, you should anticipate these situations. You don't want to let your entire program crash just because the user entered an invalid value. So instead of letting the program crash, you should handle this situation and print a proper error message. And that's what I'm going to show you in this tutorial. Now, before going any further, look at the type of the error we get here, value error. So remember this, we're going to get back to this shortly. Now, how can we handle these errors? In Python, we have a construct called try except. We use that to handle errors. Let me show you how it works. So on the top, we type try colon. Now, as you know, we're defining a code block. So I'm going to move these two lines inside of our try block. So press tab here and remove this blank line. Now, these two lines are part of our try block, right? So after try, we type except, and then we add the type of the error that our program may encounter. That is value error, okay? Then we add a colon, and in this block, we can define what should happen if our program encounters an error of type value error. In this case, we want to print a proper error message. So print invalid value. So with this try and except, we're telling Python, hey, go ahead and try running these two lines of code. If you encounter an error of type value error, then instead of crashing the program, print this error message on the terminal. So this is how this works. Now, more accurately in programming terms, we refer to this kind of error as an exception. So an exception is a kind of error that crashes our program. So if the user enters an invalid value, this line of code, line 2, will raise an exception, and on line 4, we'll catch it and print this error message so our program will no longer crash. Let me show you. So let's go ahead and run this. Age 20, everything works just like before, and the exit code is 0. Beautiful. Let's rerun this program and enter ASD. So we get this proper error message, invalid value, and once again, the exit code is 0. So that means our program completed successfully, didn't crash. Now, we can also handle different kinds of errors or exceptions. For example, right after we get the age, let's define a variable, income, and set it to 20,000. And then define another variable called risk and set it to income divided by age. Let's run this program and enter 0 as the age to see what happens. So 0 is obviously a numerical value. So when we enter this value, technically we shouldn't get any exceptions. Take a look. Our program crashed with a 0 division error because we cannot divide a number by 0. Once again, look at the exit code. So we couldn't catch this kind of error or this kind of exception with this except block. This except block is only catching exceptions of type value error. And this happens when we try to convert a non-numerical value to an integer. So in a situation like this, we should handle different kinds of exceptions. we can add another except statement for an exception of type 0 division error. Now in this block, we can print a different kind of message, like age cannot be 0. Let's run our program one more time. Now I'm going to enter 0 as the age. So we get this error message, age cannot be 0. And look at the exit code. It's 0, so our program didn't crash. So to recap, we used try except block